Hi, my name is Ashley Jacobson, and this is my informative speech on a vital issue, and here's my audience.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, I'm Jenny.
In 1999, Matthew Shepard was out with some friends. The end of the night ended much differently than he had anticipated. He was beaten and left hung with barbed wire onto a tree. The next morning, a cyclist found him and rushed him to the hospital. Matthew Shepard died the next morning. And although this is an extreme case, this is what bullying can lead to if it's left unchecked. We're going to talk today about multiple forms of bullying and what they are, how we can identify them, and then what we can do to stop bullying when we see it. The first one we're going to identify is physical bullying. This is most common in boys and young men. It can eventually, if left unchecked, lead to more aggression later on in life. Abuse and any sort of hostility is warning signs of things to come. So they're very important to be monitored and checked at a young age. This is something that's most common and easiest to see and identify as bullying. I spoke to a boy who I went to high school with who went through pretty severe physical bullying while he was going to high school. He said that not only were there physical effects that were incredibly detrimental, but there was an emotional side even to the physical bullying. Which leads me into my next form of bullying, which is emotional bullying. According to the Ophelia Project, which deals primarily with emotional bullying, they call it relational aggression, and it occurs most often in periods of downtime during recess or some sort of break time. It's most common in girls and young women, and different forms of it may look like ostracizing, the silent treatment, or just kind of pushing people out, labeling people as kind of like, we don't hang out with them, we don't associate with them. Any of that emotional bullying that puts people at a distance and says they're not welcome is a form of bullying. One that's very, very common right now that is very often talked about is cyberbullying, which is when students are posting things online about other students. It's a form of emotional bullying, and all of them have very similar effects. The Cyberbullying Research Center says that the biggest thing that teachers can do is to teach students that all forms of bullying are unacceptable. That is the biggest thing. Not to put up standards and say this form is bad and this one is bad and this one's bad, but to say all of them are bad. Over 2/3 of high school students believe that schools respond poorly to bullying, and a high percentage of students believe that adult help is infrequent and ineffective. 25% of teachers would say that they see nothing wrong with bullying and they just see it as a normal rite of passage or kids being kids. Some of these facts are taken from cyberbullying research centers, and the other one is also from the National Association of School Psychologists. So then the question comes to us. We may not all be teachers, we may not all be in the school districts, we may not all be parents at this point, but what do we do to prevent bullying? I've narrowed it down personally myself to 3 different forms of actions that we can take. And they all start with A, and I call them the 3 A's of bullying. Attend, advise, and act. So we teach students to see a situation, attend to what's happening right then and there. If you see someone being physically bullied, attend to that situation right then and there. You need to advise. Parents, teachers, other students need to advise the people in charge about what's going on. Very often in the case of school bullying, administrators and teachers don't see everything that happens because it's subtle in the case of emotional bullying, or it's done out of sight of a teacher in the case of cyberbullying or physical bullying. So advising those in charge about what's actually going on. And then acting, encouraging young people themselves to take responsibility for their school and to act and to make their school the way they want it to be, not waiting for an adult to do it for them. My personal story, and the reason this is so important to me, is not only because I am a future parent, not only because I am a future educator, but because personally for me, I dealt with the effects of emotional bullying. From all the way from elementary school to high school, I felt the keen effects of being put at a distance, of being labeled and being made to feel like I wasn't good enough. And it was something that I had to struggle with for a good long time. But once I came to terms with what the reasons was, that it was outside of me, that this wasn't something that I caused, it became something that I was incredibly passionate about. So sharing the story of Matthew Shepard and my story with other people is something that I'm extraordinarily passionate about, and actually led me to pursue becoming Miss North Dakota. When I was Miss North Dakota 2008, I spoke to 60,000 people across North Dakota, Minnesota, and South Dakota about bullying. It is that big of an issue that everybody, no matter if you are in the schools or outside of the schools right now, we will all be in contact with young people at some point in our lives. And we need to encourage them to stand up for what they believe, to attend to the situations that are in front of them, advise those in charge, and then to act and make their school the best it can be. Thank you very much.